Good afternoon, folks, and welcome to another edition of the ARCA Racing Podcast. I am your host, Colby Evans, and we're changing a little bit up today. I should have pre-announced this. Unfortunately, I had some commitment times that didn't let me really get it out there as much as I wanted to, but we got it going, kind of a last-minute deal. I have got former ARCA and Xfinity driver Ryan Repko on the show tonight via audio call. We're going to ask him some questions. And for you, the fans, tonight, my very first guest, I am so excited about this. I got him right here on my phone. Let's call him. Let's get him going, and we'll get this going. Bear with me for about 30 seconds. Calling, guys.
Hey, how's it going?
Hello, is this Ryan Repko?
Yes, sir.
How you going, buddy? How's it doing?
Doing good. Hope you can hear me all right. I kind of have to step outside to answer phone calls just because, for whatever reason, my apartment walls block the cellular deal.
Of course. Isn't technology great?
Oh, yeah.
Man, it's great to have you on the show as my very first guest. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, yeah. So let's just get right into it. So obviously you're in school right now, correct?
Yes, sir.
So are you in racing currently, or is it just mostly school right now?
A little bit of both. So I'm not competing in any national series of racing or any pavement racing at all. I'm doing micro sprint racing just because that was the opportunity that kind of presented itself. That was just the kind of what I had sponsorship for. So I could have done pavement late models or something like that, or something I'd already done, but I kind of wanted to try something different. We're starting to see with the sport the emergence of dirt drivers coming onto the scene, and they're smoking everybody. So I kind of want to see what it's all about. And I've been able to run a few micro sprint races, and I got to tell you, they're a lot of fun. Dash type races where you don't really have a whole lot of time, and I can see why those guys are as good as they are. You got to make something happen in 30 laps, or otherwise go home regretting not making the move. But at the same time, I'm also pursuing a finance degree at UNC Charlotte.
Well, that's great. Well, yeah, we just hadn't seen you on the scene in a while, and I just kind of wanted to – you told me you were in school, and I was just kind of quite curious. So with your current racing careers, why don't you ask the people, how did you get started in racing, actually? How old were you, like, when you made your first start?
So I started, my first race was when I was 10 years old in a quarter midget, but it began long before that. When I was 5 years old, I used to watch NASCAR race with my grandpa, and I just took an interest to it, and it was quite a while before I actually got to drive anything, but it was still something I enjoyed every Sunday. He pulled for Jimmy Johnson, I pulled for Tony Stewart, so kind of the battle of the hardware stores, I guess you'd say, and we enjoyed that for a while before I finally got to race a quarter midget and had a lot of success there working with my dad, and we worked on the cars together, and it was just a lot of fun. Those were great days.
Wow. Yeah, man, I wish I had the money for that, but it's always cool to hear that not only was a dad working on the car, young kids working on the car too. I feel like that's something that's low-key missing from today.
Yeah, you definitely don't see that as much, and that's something that's going on with my dirt program. I pretty much do most of the work on the car. I've got another guy that kind of helps me with setup and stuff because I wouldn't even know where to begin with dirt stuff because my whole career's been on pavement. But I'm slowly learning more and more, and I'm talking to people that I know that are I'm friends with that have been in dirt racing a while now, and I'm just trying to learn a little bit every week, and that's it's showing because we keep finishing slightly better every week.
That's great. But yeah, like that's just one thing I kind of agree with too is like, and I don't know if you've been watching ARCA lately. There's been a lot of talk about these pay drivers and these young kids who are just tearing the absolute crap out of their cars, but yet they're not at the body shop.
I mean, without going too far down that road. It's kind of the structure of the sport nowadays. It's so expensive to compete. And we just don't really have sponsors that are lined up willing to pay what they used to. So it's a really tough market, and it's really hard to sell sponsorship nowadays because I'm the type of guy, I would not be able to sleep at night if I sold sponsorship for X amount of money and I knew the value I was providing was significantly lower than that.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So it's a tough deal, and that's kind of what's nice about the DIRT program is the cost is significantly lower. So I know that I am providing what I'm promising, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
But it's a tough deal all around. These race teams, they have to do that to stay afloat nowadays.
Yeah.
But all it does is take some creativity, and it can still be done. And I'm working on some stuff in the background, just trying to get back there,
Oh, yeah. So while you were in the Cars Tour in 2018, kind of want to get into the major leagues here. You made your debut in 2017 with Mason Mitchell. Do you kind of remember how that came together at all?
With the ARCA series?
Yes, and your debut in 2017?
Yeah, so Mason's been a good friend of mine for a long time now. Probably stemmed around 2017. Originally met him at the GoPro Motorplex, actually. And he had some sponsors and some funding to where we were able to put something together, and we were able to go around Madison, which it made sense at the time because I mostly have been racing late models at Motor Mile and Hickory. And if you meshed them together, that would kind of be Madison. I mean, a place with long straightaways and tight corners, and then only worn out. So, man, that's up there as one of my favorite racetracks because the fall off, which is so much. And most race car games will tell you, old worn out racetrack, that's our favorite because it really, it puts it in the driver's hands. After a few laps, the tires are going to burn up, and then it's going to be all about throttle control. And that's what's you're going to see some passing because different drivers are going to manage their tires differently.
Oh yeah. And let's see, I'm trying to pull up the results real quick. My internet's kind of slow tonight. Yeah, she ended up finishing 8th, and in that field, so comparing that to late models, what was it like showing up for the first time, and what was, so to say, like kind of like your biggest race, and where you had these powerhouse other ARCA teams like Venerini, Schrader, Cunningham, and we even throw in like Brett Holmes Racing, but then you had these lower, like low dollar teams like Hillenberg, Hickson, Peterson, and Hilton. What was it like trying to adjust yourself to racing, not only competitive for the win and getting around those guys, but also trying to maneuver around these cars that, are just kind of out there making laps?
Well, something I kind of want to make a note of was, we finished 8th, but I mean, we were racing around Austin, Ontario when we had a mechanical problem and had to come in and went a couple laps down and made those back up and still finished 8th on the lead lap.
Oh, wow.
So it was a really strong run, actually. But to be honest with you, and this is something I'm kind of a big advocate of, I feel like some of the most talented race car drivers you'll find at a local Saturday night racing show. And I mean, I've had the opportunity to participate in the Martinsville late model race, and I feel like that's as competitive as it gets.
Oh,
and
yes.
I had done that before this ARCA race, so, I mean, it really wasn't, it was intimidating with some of the names of these car owners and their affiliations and whatnot, but once I got out there, I realized that it's really, I mean, it's basically just like what I had grown up doing. I mean, I had grown up racing NASCAR wheeling national champions basically every week. So I definitely been thrown to the wolves at a young age. So it really didn't take too much getting used to.
Well, good. Going back, so for the rest of the season, you pretty much just stayed in the Cars Tour program at the end of 17, right?
Yes, sir. I think we competed. Trying to think back, it was mostly Cars Tour and NASCAR wheeling all.
Yeah, the American
races. I remember I got my first win at Anderson that year, which is actually kind of my home track in a way. I moved to North Carolina from Anderson, South Carolina when I was 7 years old. So that was a really special win to be able to score it there.
Awesome. So you actually returned to the ARCA series in 2018, but not at the same track. How did that deal come together with Mason Mitchell then to, it looks like, race at Nashville?
It was kind of a similar situation, as well as I had a sponsor with the McLean Group jumping on board, a longtime family friend of ours.
Yeah.
And we had a really fast car, qualified good, held the track record for probably a couple minutes until somebody went out qualified us.
Dang it.
But Then we had a issue with the window net start of the race. Went a few laps down, never really recovered from it, which was unfortunate because I really felt like we had a car that could have won that day. But we'll never know, unfortunately.
Yeah, so comparing to your first two big starts, which track would you say was kind of more intimidating or harder to drive, Nashville or Madison?
I don't think either one of them were really that intimidating just because they were big short tracks. But Nashville's got a huge dip off of turn 2 that took a little bit of getting used to. But once I figured it out, it was fine. It just kind of throws the car off if you try to run really low off the 2 because you fall into that sinkhole almost and it bottoms out the car. There's not really a whole lot you can do setup-wise.
Yeah. So were you kind of maybe expecting any more ARCA deals to pop up, or was it just kind of just go back to the late models for now and see if something pops up?
I mean, I'll take pretty much any opportunity I can get. I've had several race teams at the national levels reach out to me, but so far we haven't been able to put anything together. It's a constant deal, man. I mean, you just have to keep working at it, get creative with the marketing side of things, and then that's pretty much what leads to opportunities these days. It's really tough, but hopefully something comes up.
Oh, yeah, mention that. So let's kind of fast forward to 2019, and I can even remember being a little shocked myself when I saw this on the entry list because it was my home track. But a lot of people were shocked to see your name driving the 0-1 at the Iowa race in June. So if you don't mind me asking, tell me how that whole deal with Johnny Davis came up because you were kind of still a little unknown to most big-time NASCAR fans who didn't really follow maybe the short track scene so much and were mainly just following the big series. So tell me about that deal with Johnny Davis and how that came up.
So we had a friend, or still do have a friend, named J.R. Longley, who kind of knew that they needed a driver for those races that season. And we were able to put something together, and I was really fortunate for that experience. I got to run at some tracks that I otherwise probably wouldn't have. Iowa, at the time, I had tested at Daytona, but never raced there, so that was the biggest racetrack at the time that I had ever competed on. And kind of started to feel Iowa's kind of one of those unique places where it's a short track, but it kind of races like an intermediate. So that actually helped me out for the 2020 season going into that. But I was really lucky to have that opportunity and learned a lot and enjoyed the racetracks that I was able to run at.
So, let's get into that Iowa race. So, comparing from a late model, wheeling All-American car and even an ARCA car, what was it like after your first practice laps when you got back to that garage area?
So, believe it or not, at the end of practice, pretty much after the first run, we were right where that car normally is on the leaderboard. So, took to it pretty quick. They actually drive very similar to ARCA cars. They don't rotate as well as a late model, but they also have more horsepower. So it's just kind of a little bit of a different driving style where it's more about getting the car pointed and coming back the other end, where a late model, you can kind of throw it in there a little bit more and it'll rotate.
Wow, that's cool to know. I did not actually know that. So you actually started 32nd. Was that just because you were kind of taking it easy, or was it just maybe you missed the setup a little bit?
Well, that was our second start. Our first time, I forget where we qualified, but that race we actually had an electrical issue and weren't able to qualify, so we started at the back.
Oh, okay. But in that first race, you did end up finishing 22nd. Were you satisfied? Because that is kind of where the 0-1 would normally finish.
Yeah, I mean, I think any race car driver, they show up to win and run as well as they could. But I also recognize that it was my first start, and it was an opportunity to learn and to develop my skills a little bit racing at a high level of racing. So that was kind of the purpose of to me at least. I mean, obviously to them, they needed me to run the car for those races, but all in all, it was a great opportunity, and I felt like it really helped me develop as a driver.
That's great. So were you actually excited then to? So this was originally actually a 2-race deal, correct?
2 or 3, something like that. We ended up running 3, but
Richmond.
That ended up being the extent of it. Yeah.
So were you were you feeling like, so like going from the first race, Were you nervous? And then going into the second race, did you have like way more confidence in you because you knew what to expect? And were you actually racing the exact same car?
So going into the second race, I guess nerves were a little bit better, but
Yeah.
all in all, it's kind of one of those things where you prepare for this since the time you were a kid. I mean, everybody that runs in that series has been running go-karts since before they could talk.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy how early you got to get a start at it. But after the first practice session, I kind of realized what I was in for, and that it was basically going to be pretty similar to the ARCA races I had run. But yeah, just it was a great opportunity, and just thankful for the chance to do it. I really liked Richmond because it kind of reminded me of a track that I raced at in a late model, Myrtle Beach Speedway, with the tire wear and the fall off, and the line was actually really similar. So that was by far my better track.
So yeah, then going back to my next question, going into my next question is, did you like, which one did you like more? Did you like Richmond or did you like Iowa?
So simply because I ran better at Richmond, I got to go with Richmond. But I know a lot of drivers like Iowa, and I did too, just because it's kind of cool that you can run different lines and stuff. Up to that point, most late model tracks, you really only run the bottom. So it's cool to go somewhere where you can rip the fence, and that's the fast way around once tire falls off.
Do you wish the late model circuit maybe ran tracks like Iowa and Richmond at all, despite them being maybe a little big?
To be honest with you, I think that late models are getting so lightweight that I think you would probably end really badly if somebody hit the wall.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
They've got a race coming up with the car store at Rockingham, which I know those guys, they do it right. They're going to take all their proper safety precautions, and it'll be a good event. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing how that goes. Tried to find a ride for it, but unfortunately there wasn't anything available. But definitely going to go watch and see how it goes.
Well, that's great. Yeah, I'll be sure to watch that race too. So after that, you kind of just stuck with the same kind of thing. You just went kind of back to the Wheeling All-American and Cars Tour circuit.
Actually, the following year, I went ARCA racing for Venerini. Ran about 9 races, I believe. And I was really fortunate.
That was actually going to be into my next question. Sorry to interrupt you, but how did that deal actually come about? Was it kind of another just sponsorship type deal, or did they call you?
I've been kind of talking on and off to Jack Irving at Toyota about potential opportunities for me to drive over there, because that was kind of somewhere that I saw as somewhere I wanted to end up. And boy, I was right about that. That was a heck of an opportunity. I learned a lot as a person over there. Learned how to properly prepare for a race. Just those guys are doing it right over there. That's a great opportunity for any young driver. And had some great race cars, had some great runs, and got to check off some bucket list racetracks. So I'm really thankful for the chance that I had over there.
Yeah, one race in particular I wanted to ask you about was the Talladega race, and it still irks me to this day. Is I remember that it was with 2 laps to go, they made the move on Herbst with Michael Self being involved, and Drew Dollar was ahead of you guys. You had Brett Holmes behind you, and you guys had such a run coming down the backstretch. I always wanted to ask you this question: Did you stall out, or what happened?
They so there's on TV it looked a lot more dramatic than it was, I guess you would say, because there was no way I would have cleared him going into the corner. So in those ARCA cars, when you're at a super speedway, when you're behind somebody, an air bubble forms to where you can only get but so close to the car in front of you.
Yeah.
And it stalls out, which is something they're going to have to do with the aero package if they want to increase passing.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Every driver will tell you that. So it was just one of those deals where we just didn't have enough momentum to go around. So what I tried to do was try to get in behind him, lay back, and then get a run coming to the line. And you'll see, I basically tried to back up and rebuild the run coming to the start-finish line. You'll see I barely missed it by probably like half a car length.
Yeah.
So that was really the goal on the last lap, I guess you could say. But yeah, it's so hard to pass, especially like the only way that would have maybe worked is if Brett Holmes was right on my rear bumper. But he was a few car lengths back, so it just wasn't going to work. And unfortunately, the circumstances of the cars just didn't fall our way that day. But still, it was a good opportunity to race there, and really historic racetrack. I like racing at historic places and learning more about the sport. So now I understand plate racing, I guess.
So yeah, after racing all those short tracks, and even in ARCA and Xfinity, all those short tracks, what was it like to not only go to these bigger tracks, but go with a team that you know can absolutely run for that win, and like Daytona, Talladega, Kentucky, Kansas, Michigan? What was that like for you? Had never really been on that track for that long.
I mean, it was kind of like you said. I knew I would have the best opportunity there.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of people that were telling me, teaching me, and Michael Self in particular, he helped me out a ton. Spent a lot of time on the phone with him, and every now and then I still talk to him just because we became good friends that year, and he was very knowledgeable about how to race intermediates. He actually logged onto a Zoom call with me before Kentucky, and we rewatched a mile-and-a-half race and had it up on the screen, and we paused it and we talked about certain things that were happening, and it just really the best opportunity that a young driver could have to learn and to really have somebody kind of experience and has proven themselves in that series.
Man, man, Michael Self. I met him at a Trans Am race. Yeah, he's definitely one heck of a mentor. So the one thing I've always asked a lot of drivers is there ever that one, whether it be from Xfinity, whether it be from ARCA or in your late model circuit, was there ever that one run or win that just got away from you, that you walked away from the track then that being like, man, we had that thing?
So I guess the only one that really kind of gets on my nerves a little bit, and there's really nothing I could have done about it. And the reason why it bothers me is because the track is no longer around, so I'll never have another chance to redeem it. But there was a cars race in 2017 at Concord Speedway that I ran, and I came from 13th all the way up to 2nd, and we had plenty of time to catch Josh Berry, and a caution had even come out. But later on in the run, my car starts sparking and bottoming out, which means, you got a tire going down. So we had to pit. Sure enough, it was going down. It would have been bad if we just stayed out there because we just knocked the wall down. But ended up finishing many laps down after a green flag pit stop. But it was still, I hate that it got away because now I'll never have a chance to win a race there,
No, yeah, trust me, me and a lot of, even though I was only 20, even though I'm only 20, a lot of us fans were really sad to see Concord go away. So that's kind of caught up to this point. So like you said, you're currently in school, and you said you're working on some plans. Anything you can reveal so far for the rest of the season or for 2022 yet, or is that still kind of all in the working games?
So I have no real clue about 2022. Nothing really to reveal about this year because nothing's signed. It's just like everybody else, plugging away, trying to find sponsors, trying to get the opportunities.
Yeah.
But I'll definitely be running the rest of the dirt season at Millbridge. Every Saturday race, I go out there and race my micro sprint. And throughout the week, I'm a business student in finances in Charlotte.
Damn, you're busy.
Absolutely.
So speaking of dirt racing, then does a race was like, if you found the right sponsorship, would you maybe like to run track races like the Nationals or even like the Chili Bowl?
Oh, absolutely. I'm actually talking to different teams about doing something like that. But still, it's just early in my dirt career.
Yeah.
I'm just learning. There are people that what I'm learning about the micro sprint stuff is you kind of have to check your ego at the door because there are 15 and 16-year-olds that have been doing it since they were 12 years old, and they know exactly where to plant that car on the racetrack to maximize grip, and they will smoke you. I mean, it's crazy how good some of these kids are. Gavin Boschel, if that's a name you haven't heard of, you need to write that down because that kid's going to be coming through the ranks quick. He just got a Power Eye win last weekend.
Yeah, trust me, it always feels a little weird to me going to these dirt races and seeing, I'm just 20, and yet I'm seeing kids 5 to 7 years younger than me just ripping it out there.
Absolutely. Those kids, they've got it, man. I mean, the dirt stuff is no joke. I'm learning that pretty quick, and not that I ever thought it was. I always thought it was something cool that I wanted to try. But it's been a lot of fun, and it's kind of opened me up in a way to where if I get the opportunity to get back on pavement, I've got some stuff that I want to try on the track to open my eyes a little bit.
So obviously then if the right opportunity and the right sponsorship came along, the Knoxville dirt truck race is definitely on your list?
Potentially, really any race at this point. I'm not going to pass up any good opportunity.
Of course. Oh, yeah. Well, that's kind of all I have for questions. Again, I just can't thank you enough for being my first guest.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
To everyone who's listening, thank you for joining me. And as for Ryan, where can they find you on social media?
All different kinds. Your handles are a little bit different, so if you type in Ryan Repko on pretty much anything, I've got a Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube channel. You can find it.
Awesome. And for all you guys watching, I will be sure to leave